Hello everyone. Sarah here. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a continuation of the Kendra's Card Challenge number 9. So you had seen that I've done card number 6 in the video hop. So these are the next, or the first 5 cards that I'm going to show you. I'm going to break it up just so that the videos are a little bit shorter, and also then I can fill up my YouTube channel with actual videos in a month. So here we go. This is card number 1. All my cards are created with the Pink and Main's May 2022 Crafty Court Kit. It is called Wildflowers, and this was actually a gift someone gave me last year, and very kind person, and I've never got around to playing with it. So when it came to the first challenge in 2023, I decided I'm going to use these alcohol inked pattern papers, this card kit, because it's such a nice one, and I've never really played around with alcohol inks myself, so having pattern paper that's already done for me, that's special, and I had a lot of fun with it. So if you are watching, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for this gift. The card kit does come with a stamp set that has some images that are perfect for creating silhouettes on these pattern papers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with my VersaFine Clear ink just because it stamps very nicely. And I'll end up doing a flower, 2 sprigs, and a butterfly that's kind of resting on one of the leaves. I'm going to use some glue and some double-sided tape. Because I heat set it with gold embossing powder around the edge, it does warp it a tiny bit. So I just want to really make sure that that sticks down. And the reason I use the liquid glue is because if I don't set it down straight, I have a little bit of wiggle room because the liquid glue will kind of let it glide. For the strips on this card sketch, I am going to use some gold shimmer paper that I got from Michaels. You can get a bundle of it, and actually they have quite a few colors. So this is the gold one, and I like using it because it's cost effective. It's a pretty good specialty card. Sometimes that specialty card gets pretty expensive, so when you can find places to save a little bit and still get a nice quality looking product, I'll go for that. And so these are about 1/4 inch strips, and I'm just adding a little bit of cardstock underneath so that when it's hanging over, it won't sag. Of course, there are more layers on this card than just one little strip of cardstock, but it's not going to be too bad because the extra layers are just on the edge there. You won't notice that. And then I did color some, or I should say stamp some of the stamps in colored ink using some Caterpillar inks. And I was just playing around with different techniques. For example, the sprig has 2 colors on it, and then the butterfly, I colored it with some markers. So I should say pens, so it's a black ink pen, archival ink pen, and then a white gel pen. Just playing around to see if I can add some design to these silhouette butterflies. Of course, I did choose colors that are very similar to the alcohol inks that I have. So I try to do that just to make sure that I'm not introducing any extra colors. I don't want to take away from the alcohol inks pattern papers. I want them to show. And then the sentiment I'm going to add there is just wishing you well, which is one of the stamps in the card kit. I tried very hard to use only the products that are in this card kit, just so that if you do have it yourself, then you can play along and have some inspiration along the way. For card number 2, I did use the embossing folder that comes in this kit. It creates this cool diamond checkered shaped pattern paper. It's a lot of fun to create some dimension to a solid piece of cardstock. And for this one, I'm going to once again ink some, or I should stamp some of those sprigs, trying to once again stick to the colors in the alcohol ink. So that's why I have the green that's kind of almost a bluishy green, and then that dark Merlot type colored ink. Those are not the names of the inks. I'm just trying to think of what I would call them because I don't have those inks in front of me to actually name them. And then I'm just going to put that big huge banner there. I really like these big banners. That one I just cut freehand. I don't have a die cut that does that. I just cut a rectangle, and then you snip the center as best you can, and then you cut from the edge to the center, and you create a banner. And I did the same thing with purple, just kind of having them together and then following it with my eye to make sure I trimmed it correctly. Now I did glue these two sprigs kind of overlapping and just add a little bit of glue just so that I can play with how I want it to visually look before I set it down. And I did not worry about it adding layers on the back of them like I did with the strips. And that's just because I'm not too worried about when it comes to foliage coming off. It kind of looks nice when it has a little bit of dimension. And to finish off the card, I did stamp a blue and a red butterfly. And I did add some white gel pen to it to just kind of add something more to the silhouette of the butterflies. The thing is about the red though is it does shine through, or I should say it bleeds through, so the white does turn pink. I'm sure there's a good product out there that doesn't do that, but I'm still trying to find it. But it's okay. I don't mind it. It looks kind of fun. Okay, card number 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a little background with all these different florals on the stamp set, and I'm going to try to use the ink colors that match the strips that I'm going to be using on the pattern paper. The reason I drew a line in the center there is because in the sketch you can see there's a banner right across the center. Well, I want all these florals to kind of be layered in different levels above that pencil line. So that's just a visual to say this is where that paper is going to be. So anything above that line has a chance of being shown. Of course, I didn't take in consideration that there's still that extra panel that's covering most of it. So that was a hindsight, and so I did trim that. You'll see I did trim that down so that I could still see some of these pretty elements. I have this little block stamp that I got from Simon Says last year, and I really wanted to play with it, but it has 3 dots on it, so I was trying to be very careful not to add too many dots at once. And what I was doing was just having a little bit of fun creating generational stamps. So there's 3 generations there, the first, second, and third. And because I also didn't take consideration that I should have blocked the bottom of the panel so that I didn't see all that unfinished stamps. So I did have to add another white panel on top using the exact same paper so that it's the same color of white, and then just put it over top of that so that it will look like it's one piece of paper when we're all done. And once again, adding a little bit of strips to the sides there. I'm not worried about having 2 layers. It's so minimal in this scenario, again, that I'm not worried about it. And that's a good strip. When I cut this pattern paper, I was able to get a nice solid purple alcohol inked background. So this looks really nice on this sketch, actually. I like it quite well. For this stamp, if you do have this card kit, you will notice that this is not how this sentiment looks. I actually, for the first time in my life, cut a stamp because it wasn't working for me to have this long single lined stamp in most of these cards. So I decided I would try it. It was really hard. It took me a long time to actually snip it, but in the end, it actually worked for me. And then to finish off the card, I did stamp another flower that kind of matches in the background and added some white stripes on it, and then using these epoxy dots that came in the kit to follow the sketch. And that's it. Card number 4. Okay, I had a lot of fun with this one. I decided to choose the green and brown alcohol inks just because there are so many colors in this kit that I do want to give them all a chance if they look okay. If they don't, then I'll just stick with the purples. But in this case, I really liked this green and then the cardstock that comes in the kit. It matched so well, and it really was pleasing with adding the black silhouettes, as you can see in the corner there. I fussy cut those all out, and in the end, it's one of my favorites. It just looks really nice. I am going to keep it simple because I do have that pattern or the embossed background. I don't want to add too much, so I'm going to not add the mats to these individual rectangles, but instead put it right onto that background. And I'm going to use color to really, I should say color and texture to really make this card fun and pop. Even with the sentiment, I went with a black strip with the sentiment "Best Wishes" embossed in white. It really just, it makes me happy looking at this card. I really like it. And I'm just going to kind of layer them because I want the flowers to cover both panels. So starting from the bottom, working its way up. But I don't want these to look like they're just kind of separate. So I am going to overlap them a tiny bit. Just, well, actually quite a bit. Just so that it kind of looks like a cohesive single cluster moving up. And just for some fun, I did stamp some of these blossoms and fussy cut them out in some green ink. I think it's green tea with Catherine Pooler, I believe. And then I stamped the butterflies in a brown, something to do with coffee color, in Catherine Pooler. And I really like how that all ties together. Like I mentioned earlier, I am trying to find some inks that I have that match these backgrounds as best as possible. For card number 5, the last one I'm going to be working in this video is once again playing with that beautiful green cardstock that comes in this kit. It's a really unique one. It's not something I would personally go out of my way to buy, but when you start tying it in with the pattern paper that comes in the kit, it actually complements it very well. And so with this one, I decided to use that maroonish burgundy alcohol inks that has the green in it and tie that in with this awesome cardstock. Once again, I am using the Recollections Shimmer Gold cardstock, and I just cut a hole in the center there because I'm going to use that for my little square panel that I'm going to prop up. This is a fairly simple one. Once again, I did use a silhouette technique on the pattern papers using the flowers, and I just used my MISTI to kind of go around the corner and the bottom of it. And the idea was you kind of want to cover it because you kind of want to create this illusion of there's these flowers in the background and there's something up front, which is your sentiment, that's kind of covering a little bit, but the flowers are kind of peeking out. So ideally you want to pre-plan so you know exactly how you want the stamps to move, but I don't do that with my videos because I just go and I just move forward. So sometimes they don't work out, but in this case it actually looks quite nice. I like how the little flowers at the top just peek out at the top, those 3 little clusters. It's really cute. I'm not going to follow the sketch with the dots too closely. I didn't like how it was looking, so I decided just to put these 3 big circles on the edge and then add some butterflies. This is a great reminder that you do not have to follow the sketch exactly. Ideally, you want to make sure that the pieces of pattern paper that you've cut will be used without being unchanged, but everything else is pretty fair game. You don't need to follow the sketch exactly. So if you ever feel like this is not working for your design, then change it up a bit and just have fun with that. So these are the 5 cards that I created so far. I have more to go, and I'll show you number 6 as well, just as a reminder of what I had already done in the video hub. I do hope this has created some inspiration for you if you have this card kit. I hope you pull it out and just have a lot of crafty fun. So until the next time, have a wonderful, beautiful day, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.